question. I have a further question regarding turning the other cheek. Is it possible to turn the other cheek and set a personal boundary at the same time? For instance, someone projects criticism, and in response you state that you reject their judgment without accusing, attacking, or projecting. Just, I do not accept this, walk away, and go about learning the lesson at hand for your own psychology. Is that defending dualistic? So it's a good question because you can go to various layers of this turning the other cheek. So and I've met people who would say this, that when you say that turning the other cheek means that you are not responding, they will say, well, that just means you let people do whatever they want to you. But that's not actually what it means. See, there's a difference between fighting back and setting a personal boundary. So one person slaps you on one cheek, and turning the other cheek means you're not responding back. You're not responding back firstly by slapping them back, but you're not responding energetically either. See, and perhaps I didn't explain that. I gave another answer about turning the other cheek, but perhaps I didn't explain it clearly enough. But the whole idea is that everything we do is done with energy. So when Jesus talked about turning the other cheek, he was not talking about just physical actions, but of course, how could he 2,000 years ago explain to people about psychic energy or even energy? They didn't even have the concept of energy back then. So understand that many people understood this to mean physically, but in today's world we know about energy. We know that everything is made out of energy, and we have, as I said, as I explained in many videos, we have the 4 levels of the mind: the identity, mental, emotional, and then the physical. So here somebody slaps you on one cheek. He's taking a physical action. But it's not just a physical action, because before he could take that physical action, he had to create a structure, an energetic matrix in the emotional, mental, and identity level of his mind. And it started at the identity level, where people see themselves as, I have a right to go and slap other people. And then at the mental level, they justify this because this person did something wrong to me, and therefore I have a right to slap them. And then at the emotional level, they feed it with this anger that becomes so overwhelming that finally the physical action, so what I'm saying is the physical action is like the tip of the iceberg, but there is an energetic component of it that starts at the identity level, swings all the way through until the person is so overwhelmed by the feelings that he just has to slap you. And so really to turn the other cheek is, you don't react at all to this energy. You are not, it's not just that you don't slap the person physically, but you're not responding either at the emotional, mental, and identity level. And how can you avoid responding? By setting a personal boundary. So really, as the question is formulated, is it possible to turn the other cheek and set a personal boundary at the same time? Well, if you haven't set a personal boundary, you can't turn the other cheek, because it's by setting that personal boundary that you are able to not respond, neither physically nor emotionally, mentally, and at the identity level, to the other person's impulse, energetic impulse that they're directing at you. So you really, in order to turn the other cheek, you have to decide, I will not let other people's impulses determine my reaction to life, neither physically nor at the 3 higher levels. And you really can only do that when you resolve the subconscious selves that I always talk about, because they are the ones who cause you to react by wanting to hit back. You see, so it's really a good question, because it goes into a deeper aspect of what it takes to turn the other cheek. And it really takes that you are so free that you don't respond to the other person's feelings, you don't respond to their thoughts, You don't try to justify yourself, defend yourself. And you don't let them thwart your sense of identity. You have decided at the identity level, I have a right to be on earth. I have the right to be myself on earth. I don't have to react to people's negativity. And I don't have to fight back. And a person is giving this example that someone predicts criticism, and in response you state that you reject their judgment without accusing, attacking, or projecting. Yeah, and you can do that. And I'm not saying it isn't appropriate. Let's say somebody is abusing you. It can very well be appropriate to speak out and say, you need to stop this. I am not allowing you to do this. I will not take this anymore. But you can come to a point where you don't even need to say anything. Because, the person is asking, I do not accept this, I walk away, but is that still defending or dualistic? Well, it is if you have a reaction. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, why do you need to say it? In some cases, as I said, it is appropriate to state, you need to stop this. This is abuse, for example. I mean, you could say it in many different ways, of course. But so it's okay to say something, but ultimately you need to come to a point where you don't even have a need to say it because you don't have a reaction in you. And of course, I understand that it's natural if somebody is abusing you, you have a reaction to it at first. But I'm just saying, in order to really set a personal boundary, I mean, how do you set a personal boundary that won't allow others to abuse you? You have to be free of these structures in your identity, mental, and emotional level that thinks you have to react to what other people are doing. I mean, ultimately, turning the other cheek means attaining what the Buddha called non-attachment. You just have no reaction. And therefore you can just walk away. But what I have found in my life, and I've seen this many, many times, that when I overcome a certain subconscious self that causes me to react to other people, when I'm really free of it, I don't encounter those kind of people anymore. Because it was the subconscious self that attracted them to me. And why? Well, first of all, because like attracts like, but also because I wanted to learn the lesson. I wanted to overcome that self. So I actually wanted to, in my divine plan, I wanted to force myself to go into situations where I had to deal with this. And here's the thing that I see in many spiritual people, and myself included. We really think, I think back when I was younger, I was really thinking about this, why can't we all just get along? And I really wanted to live in a world where we all could get along, because nobody was aggressive towards others, like nobody was teasing other children in school or bullying other people or invading their countries or whatever. And so I was in my conscious mind, I was thinking, oh well, we should just all be able to get along. And if everybody was just as peaceful as I am, we wouldn't have all these problems on earth. But you see, I wasn't as peaceful as I thought I was. And this doesn't mean that I was aggressive. It didn't mean that I would go out and bully other people. But I had a subconscious self that reacted to being bullied by other people. And many other things on earth. I felt, oh, this shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening. So by the fact that I had all of these subconscious selves as a reaction to other people's aggression, I had structures in my mind that were perpetuating the mindset. Let's look at this another way, okay? You have the Tai Chi, the Taoist symbol with a black and a white. It symbolizes that there's always two polarities. There's, as the Descendant Masters say, there's the outgoing energy and the contracting energy that has created the world of form, because they balance each other. So there are always two aspects of everything. And that means that even when you go into the duality consciousness, there are also the two polarities. So, if you have an aggressor that is aggressive towards other people, there must be a recipient who is reacting to the aggression. See? You have a bully, but the bully needs a victim. Otherwise, if he's just standing there in an open field and there's nobody around and he's bullying anybody, how is it going to work? So what I'm saying is, you have this old statement, are you part of the solution or part of the problem? And if you are reacting to other people, you are still part of the problem. You're only part of the solution when you overcome the subconscious selves that you have that causes you to react to other people. That is truly turning the other cheek. It is also setting a personal boundary, because you're simply saying, I'm not going to react to this state of consciousness. I know this is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy for me. I'm not saying I still don't have some reactions. I'm just saying I clearly see that this is the ideal I'm working towards, where I don't have a reaction. This doesn't mean that I'm going to sit in a cave in the Himalayas and meditate on God and never take part in life. You can still be out here. You can still be expressing yourself, your opinions. It's just you're not doing it as a reaction. I remember the first time I realized this a number of years ago. I realized that I could take a certain action, like say I spoke out. I said, here's something that isn't right. But I did it with an energy that came from the subconscious self, because I had a reactionary pattern. So I was not neutral. I had an emotional charge. I had a mental justification for it. I had a sense that I should be the good guy and I should speak out when there was something wrong. So there was this, it was like an ego drama for me to speak out. And I realized that even if what I said was right from a certain perspective, I could still do it with the wrong motivation, with the wrong energy, with the wrong charge. So it really is a matter of coming to this point where you are completely neutral, and then you can speak out or you cannot speak out. If you speak out, there's no charge in it. But this is also setting your personal boundaries, because really what it means to set your personal boundaries is that you're not reacting to anything on earth. You're not reacting against it. You see what I'm saying? You always have the perpetrator and the victim, and they form this polarity. And turning the other cheek or setting your personal boundaries, meaning you are stepping outside that polarity. You have freed yourself. You are neither the perpetrator nor the victim. You're not playing any of the roles. You are outside of it. And that means you can just walk away from it. It means you can also speak out and be completely neutral about it. But it also, as I said, has meant for me that I can see that I put myself in certain situations. And this was what I started out saying a long time ago, that I have a tendency to be lazy. I want to think that, oh, one day all these aggressive people are going to be gone, and it's going to be peace on earth and goodwill towards men. But I didn't have to, and I thought, they're the ones who are the problem. They're the ones who are the problem. And I can't do anything about them, so I just have to wait for them to go away. But I realized I can do something, because I can free myself from the omega polarity, the recipient polarity, the victim polarity, the one that feels, oh, I'm not doing anything aggressive, so I'm okay, but these people are doing something wrong. I can free myself from that whole dynamic. So I am not in the polarity, the alpha omega polarity, the dualistic polarity. And that was totally a total revelation for me to realize this, that even though I am not aggressive, I'm still perpetuating the situation, the polarity between the aggressor and the victim. And that just totally revolutionized my way of looking at myself and what I needed to do to come to that point. And so what I'm saying again is, I can see how I would have liked to skip that whole dynamic and not look at this in myself. Because when I'm not aggressive, I'm not doing something wrong, right? I'm part of the problem. I mean, I'm part of the solution. I'm not part of the problem. But I realized I am part of the problem until I overcome it. And so I had to look at this and overcome it. And I could see how I put myself in situations where I was forced to deal with this issue instead of just being able to gloss it over and say, it's all good. And when I faced it, when I overcame it, I also didn't attract those kind of people to me anymore. And if I did, because people still have free will, of course, it didn't bother me. I didn't have reaction to it. And I think for all spiritual people, that's really where we want to be. And that's what we put in our divine plans, to get to that point where we can be in the world, not of the world. We're in the world, but we're not reacting with this dualistic polarity. You know, the aggressor and the victim, we are not judging, we're not judging after appearances, we're free of this state of mind. So we can turn the other cheek, and then we can really be the judgment of Christ. But we're not doing it to judge other people, we're just being who we are. And so that means that when we reach that state of mind, you know, we are at peace with ourselves, we're at peace with being on earth, and we are free.